episode of Collaborate and Pull Together, a podcast where we like to highlight all things positive on and off the table. And today we have a special guest from the international overseas waters. But guess what, guys? He's here in the States with us. We have none other than Hollywood Matt Connelly. Before we get into further introduction on Hollywood, let's just take a moment for a commercial for my sponsor, New York Cryogen Incorporated. And we're back. So New York Cryogen Incorporated is my go-to provider, pain relief provider. They use high pressurized medical cryotherapy to eliminate inflammation in any area of the body. Most typically, I usually use it for the inner elbow. I'm sure Matt can tell us that he's got some of his own methods on how to deal with the pain of the inner or outer elbow, shoulders, wrist, anywhere there's really major inflammation. These guys have a great handle on how to do so, how to take care of it. Please scan that QR code, take your phone, take a picture, take a screenshot. This will bring you right to their website, and you can learn more about it and see how they are going to be possibly coming to your neighborhood. So back to what really we're here for. My friend Matt has joined us today, all the way from Australia. He's down by way of, I think, Florida, you said you were in?
That's correct. Yes, Miami, Florida, or as the locals call it, Miami, Florida.
I can appreciate that. So, yes. Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. Now, I just jumped right into it. My main question for you is, how did you find arm wrestling?
It was at the Arnold Expo in Melbourne about 6 years ago. They have the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic event in Columbus, Ohio, which is a huge show. And he used to run a couple of those around different areas throughout the world. And one of them was in Melbourne. And so I went along to that event. So with the way that he used to put things together was that they would have a professional bodybuilding show, but surrounding that, they would hire out a massive conference center, and there would be a showcase of all sorts of different sports, and they're all happening at the same time. And so as an audience member, you know, you've got your ticket, you go in and you're seeing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then you're seeing a strict curl competition, and then you're seeing a bench press competition, and then you're seeing arm wrestling, and then you're seeing, you know, all these new, interesting sort of, I guess, niche sports. And when I walked around the corner and saw the arm wrestling stuff, I was like, oh, I've seen this because I had seen the Pulling John documentary and really enjoyed it. But I hadn't really sort of looked at it more from there. But I stood and I was watching for a minute or two, and Tom Uglacia, who is from Brisbane, a fantastic man, this whole career all relies on that man saying this, but he's like, come up here and have a go, mate. And I was like, oh, nah. And he's like, oh, come on, get up here. And I was like, all right, fine. And I get up, and he's like, you know, very, as everybody is with new people, very welcoming, very supportive, making sure that you had a good time. And he goes, where are you from, man? I said, I'm from Adelaide. He goes, oh, hang on a second. He calls Tim Graham over. He says, this guy's from Adelaide. And he's like, what's your name? And I was like, oh, my name's Matt. And he's like, all right, hang on. Let me look on Facebook. Adds me on Facebook. Puts me in the arm wrestling group. And it all sort of kicked off from there.
As soon as they get their hooks into you, it's all either uphill or downhill for depending on what perspective you're looking at it. That's awesome, man. That's a great level of exposure to the sport, because I happen to like the Arnolds. I actually had the pleasure of competing at one of the Arnolds classics, not last year, but not the year before, but the year before that. I enjoyed the experience. It was a really cool atmosphere. I can imagine that they mirrored that atmosphere over down locally for you. So here's my ultimate question then. What got you to go to the Arnolds in the first place? What was your way of life? What were you doing before arm wrestling?
So been lifting weights for 24 years, I've always in that bodybuilding sort of circle, and I was there to see the professional show. It was the first time that I had the opportunity to see IFBB elite athletes competing, and my friend had recently broken up with his girlfriend and was wanting to go over and do something crazy. So we ended up going to Melbourne and had a lot of fun at the Arnold Expo there. But it was, I would have loved it if they kept that running. We had tickets for it for 2020, but then obviously COVID happened and they haven't put any plans in place to bring it back.
Well, it's been back, actually.
No, for us, sorry.
Oh, for you guys, over that way. Gotcha. Well, now you have more of an excuse to come to the United States, because you can come compete at the Arnold here.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Well, it's a little disappointing that they haven't continued on with it, because we did get some of the superstars from America coming over. We had John Brzezinski one year, Devin Larratt another year, and just the opportunity to meet guys like that on that level was just second to none. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I would have loved it if they'd kept that running.
It's sad when you see a promotion you enjoy, fizzle out or, phase out type of deal. I wish that, in my best interest and the interest of the growth of the community, that everyone's successful. And I think there's room for us all to be successful. With that being said, what are some levels of inspiration that you had found in the sport of arm wrestling? As you just started, you're in Arnold's, you just left that, amazing community. They literally almost borderline kidnapped you and claimed you as their own. Who in the sport did you become, enamored with that you wanted to follow?
Yeah, once I'd sort of gotten into it a little bit, I was looking at, YouTube videos, and obviously all YouTube videos lead to Devin Larratt and John Brzezinski. So being able to sort of use their previous match history to be able to say, well, these are the elite guys, these are the best guys in the world. Mm-hmm. And that sort of made me more interested in the sport and seeing the different techniques that were being employed, with Devin's style of vampiring his opponent and sucking out all their energy and talking trash and then getting the pin, versus something like Travis Bagent, who is just one and done. You got half a second to, if you contain him, you'll win. If you don't, you're going to get your arm smashed into the pad. So, it was like a journey of seeing all of the top American stars and sort of following their journey over their career for the last couple of years.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, we all, for those of you who don't know, who are watching at home, Matt's also a online presence massively, not just, in Australia, but his presence is far-reaching international audience. Just found out most of his audience is out of India. Tell us a little bit about the progression and what was your inspirations in joining the online community and being a podcaster and participating in that regard.
Yeah, it was interesting because when I started at the club, it was only 3 people. And we were on a driveway. We were on Tim Graham's driveway. And we slowly progressed into a community center. And we had maybe 8 or 9 people at that point. A couple of the guys wanted to have a super match, and I thought, man, I'd love to, I don't know, I guess promote it or sort of come up with some ideas as to some videos. And so I grabbed a whole bunch of training highlights that both of the guys for both athletes, and then sort of cut together a very terrible promo thing and just put it together mainly only for the guys in the club, really. So we filmed the match, and then I edited the match, put that up, and I was like, well, that was fun, and everyone seemed to enjoy it. Started giving everybody nicknames because it's easier to remember somebody from a nickname than it is to remember John and Paul. And, you know, it's like, oh, that's the Viking. That's the Executioner. That's a lot easier to remember those things. So, yeah, we got into doing it that way. It was more that I was trying to build up the club, the SA Titans Club. So at that point, we didn't have a name. We didn't have any structure, really. It was just once a week, whoever turned up. And I wanted to really push the idea of getting as much exposure as we possibly could. And so, yeah, I was putting out content all the time. Every training session that we'd have, I'd film as much as I could, and then, you know, go back, and I'd spend the week like editing, and I was doing it all on my phone. And I was working night shift at that time as well. So I would work during the night, and then I'd be editing the videos during the day. And I remember so many times, like, I was editing in bed on my phone, and I fell asleep, and the phone hit me in the face. It would wake me up. And I'd wake up, and my finger was
I'm laughing because I know that struggle. I know that struggle all too well. I still am participating in that.
I would wake up, my finger would still be on the screen, and I would have zoomed way past where I fell asleep. I was like, oh man, no, I've got to go back. Yeah, so there was a lot of effort. There is a lot of effort in putting things together, but it was coming from a passion. Like I love the sport. I love being on the table, the community, the people that are involved in it. Just absolutely wonderful. And if I can get more people involved in it, that's sort of my goal, really. And I just, as I said, I'm a fan first and foremost. So, you know, I watch the events from around the world, and I always sort of, with AWE, with our organization, we try to put the best of what we can from everybody else and make our product as entertaining as possible. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey so far.
Well, so you mentioned AWE, Armwrestling Entertainment. And for those who are watching, if you, again, scan the QR code, the link will take you right to their Facebook page, AWE, and you'll be able to see all the content that they have. They do have a subscriber feature. Definitely, you know, a good way to get a little more exclusive content out of them and learn more what they're about, because they are one of the, in my opinion, one of the faster growing entities that have been consistently growing since I started. I've watched their name grow and their pop up, and it just grows with increasing force. So how has arm wrestling influenced the community as well, influenced your journey and your personal life by way of connecting you with different parts of the world?
It's been absolutely, you'd almost think it was not true, because it's given me so many opportunities that I would never have thought would have been possible. I've traveled to lots of different parts of the world now, specifically for arm wrestling purposes. I've met so many people from around the world and spoken to so many amazing people involved in the sport. So it's been a real surprise that it's worked out in this way. But yeah, it's been, I think it does start with that grassroots level of the community. And if you're going along to the club, like say it's your first night at the club, you're going to be, hey, nice to meet you, get on the table, instantly, straight away, on the table. All right, let's see. You know, I'm not going to pin you. You just show me what you've got. Oh, that's great. You're doing well. Let's try to get you a bit stronger here. Try to change your hand position. So much support, so much sort of advice, given. And so we just really want that person to walk away going, I had a great time. And so, because that's the feeling that I had, and that's the feeling I continue to get. But yeah, traveling, I've been over to Ireland. I've lived in India for a month to do the Prapanjal League Season 2 last year, which we actually, Ryan Bowen and I went over there to do the English commentary. But 2 days before the event was about to start, they had to postpone it because the man who was running it all ended up in a car accident. So, yes, but he's okay now, and the league is actually taking place right now, and I'm doing the English commentary for it remotely, which is just, again, really strange to think that I've got that opportunity.
So hang on. Let me wrap my head around this, and for the audience. This gentleman is from Australia, right now, currently in the United States, doing live commentary for a league in India.
That's
so
right.
I got it right so far? Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I covered all the bases there. Wow. That, like, if that ain't growth for the sport, I don't know what else is. That is a major indicator. You know, kudos to you for having that opportunity, that chance. Now, how did that come into fruition? How did you get involved with Prapanjal? Because I've heard Prapanjal being one of the biggest, if not the most viewed leagues in the world. So how did you do that?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story. I've got Ryan Bowen to thank for a lot of the opportunities that have been presented my way. And he wanted to have a match against India's #1 arm wrestler, a man his name is Masahir Saidu. And we wanted to get Masahir and a couple of the other top arm wrestlers over to Australia for an AWE event. We wanted to put them against some of our top Australian guys. And we started putting the process in, but unfortunately, the visas were rejected for all 3 guys. So, and we said, well, if we can't get them here, we'll go over there instead. And so Ryan said, look, I want to have this match no matter what. And I said, well, I'll go over there with you and I'll film it so that, you know, we've got content and we'll do it under the AWE banner and all the rest of it. And so he coordinated with Masahir Saidu and Praveen Dabas, who runs Prapanjal League. And we went over, and Ryan had one of the best matches that you'll ever see against Masahir Saidu, with all the ups and downs of drama and the power going out in the final round. Yeah, absolutely incredible. But the weird thing was that they said, well, look, if you're coming over, Matt, why don't you have a match as well? And I was like, all right. And they said, who do you want to go against? I was like, I'll go against anyone. I said, just don't get me anyone who's really explosive, because I'm not great off the start. And they go, okay, well, we've got this guy here, Abbas Rana. And I was like, okay, great. And then they said, yeah, he's 15. I was like, hang on, he's 15? And they're like, yeah. They're like, that doesn't, this isn't going to be good, because if I lose, I lose to a 15-year-old. If I beat a 15-year-old, that's bad as well. So I was like, oh. But then they sent a photo through of him, and I was like, all right. Massive shoulders, full beard. He looked like he was 25 years old, and he was a world champion on right arm and left arm in the juniors. So, yeah, that's who they decided that they would pick me up against. And, of course, I got absolutely smacked 4-0. But it was a tremendous opportunity, and I really am thankful for the opportunity to showcase Abbas and get the views on that video that go, well, you know, who is this guy? And then hopefully kickstart some things for his career as well.
That is awesome. I was talking to my wife about who my guest is tonight, and told her about the league being in Prapanjal. She was all for it, because she's actually into yoga, and she loves the culture. She loves the the history and the heritage associated with India. And she's like, if you could ever find a way to get yourself over there, you better believe that is a place I will join you at. She doesn't usually like to join me at all my events that I go to and I participate in, but there are some that she's very eager. So getting that opportunity, hats off to you, man, because that's right there. That is amazing. That's beautiful. And that is what this show is about. It's about highlighting a person, an individual, or an entity doing something that not everyone knows what they're doing. Not everyone's aware of it, maybe, So I'm happy to help shed the light and spread the good word that, we are bringing the world together a little closer via arm wrestling.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, Salvatore Rios has put a comment in there. He says, definitely don't eat the street food, but that's fine. Yeah, well, the scene of arm wrestling in India, it's almost unfathomable. Like, it's just the amount of people that are involved in the sport there is it's insane. When we went to do this match with Matsuhisa Saito and Abbas Rana, we had 1,000 people crammed into a room to watch what we were doing. And after the match, everybody came up. They all wanted photos. They all wanted to talk to us. They all wanted to get on the table with us. And we were there for hours and hours, and just more and more people just kept coming in. People were video calling their parents and saying, I'm here with Matt Connelly. And I'm like, how do they know who I am? I'm like, I'm not the famous dude. Ryan Bowen's the famous guy. But yeah, it was an incredible experience. The viewership for Prapanja is just insane. I mean, we're looking at about 70 million people watching each episode. They're on 21 nights in a row. They're on free-to-air television over in India. The guys who run the league, Praveen Dabas, Abhishek Singh, they do a tremendous job, and they believed in their product. They believed that people in India would support it, and they fought to get a prime time spot. And they've got 21 days of prime time. It's 4 hours, and it leads in from the cricket. And cricket is absolutely enormous in India by 100 times over what arm wrestling is. But the ability to capture that audience that had finished watching cricket and be like, what's on now? And here it is. It's Prapanja, it's arm wrestling. And one of the great things about the sport is that it's very simple to understand. All you're trying to do, you're trying to get his hand here, he's trying to get your hand there. That's it. That's all you got to know from the get-go. And then you've got an endless rabbit hole of technique and strategy and all the training disciplines that come with it and the different characters and all that, which add to that. But at the very core, it is a very simple sport to understand, and the fact you don't need any equipment. So obviously, you ideally you'd have a proper arm wrestling table, but you don't need to have an arm wrestling table at all. You can just grab somebody's shoulder and away you go. You're just standing and working technique.
I was in Puerto Rico with Devin, and we arm wrestled on top of a garbage can.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
You find whatever surface, flat enough surface, large enough surface that can, safely, arm wrestle on, and you're good to go. And you, like you said yourself, you don't need an actual surface to begin with.
No, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then the ability to, it's not like you don't need a tennis racket. You don't need a basketball. You don't need a golf club. It's anywhere, anytime. And we have our training sessions on Sundays. We go from training. We all go out to dinner together. At the restaurant, everyone is arm wrestling each other over the tables. And then after the restaurant, we'll go to an ice cream parlor. And we'll sit in the ice cream parlor and play card games and arm wrestle each other until like midnight. And it's absolutely crazy. But the ability to be able to just be talking to someone and be like, well, about this thing with the riser and this technique and all the rest of it. Well, yeah, hang on, just give me your hand, I'll show you. And straight away you can show them exactly what you're talking about. Or let's have a bit of back and forth and away you go. You don't need to have that equipment there.
That it is a very minimalistic sport. That's the best way to describe it. It really doesn't need much. And you know what? Other than tag, it is the only sport that you can say that has been across the entire world and every man and woman has participated.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like really,
absolutely.
that's a claim right there in itself. And you go to a place of a population like India has, and you start generating some foot traction. It's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of when. Sorry, not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. It just catches on to become a little bit more. Hey, this is what's going on there. Let's replicate that process. Now, before I continue, I do have a question. I just want to shout out a couple people that are in the chat. We got Peter Leland. What up, man? That's going to be an opponent of mine going into next year. We'll talk about that later. And Salvatore Rios. Thank you for tuning in, guys. If you have any questions for Matt, please feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll present it to him. So with the production that I've seen, with the amount of people that are there, I can't help but wonder, because I've thrown a few of my own events, nothing grand, nothing very high level, but I've thrown a few of my events, and they were not inexpensive to throw an event, right? How do you guys go about funding it? Is it via sponsorship, or is this, something that folds over from whatever you guys collect via the viewership and YouTubes and whatnot? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, well, as you said, I mean, it's not a cheap exercise to put an event on. I mean, you've got all of the, especially if you're flying in athletes from overseas, that's where your costs really add up. And with AWE2, I know our flights alone cost $17,000. And then we had all of the other costs on top of that. So at this point in time, my business partner, Dave Stockbridge, he's been the money man, I guess you could say. And he's been putting that money towards promoting the sport of arm wrestling and promoting the AWE. And so Ryan Bowen and myself, Ryan has left AWE now, but we're still on good terms and everything. But it's me and Dave at this point in time. And yeah, we've sort of found different ways to mitigate costs. We've been very lucky that Dave's best friend, Craig Ike, runs a MMA organization in Adelaide called Diamondback Fighting Championships, or the DFC. And they have been really killing it, doing great production, great events in the octagon. And one of those things that Craig really likes to do is to give niche sports the opportunity to be seen by a live audience and also the audience that's on pay-per-view. And so sometimes you'll have just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu matches, or who'll have a cage Muay Thai match. And we were lucky enough to be able to showcase arm wrestling with involvement with the DFC. And so that's how our first event actually took place, the AWE 1, which was in the octagon there, so they'd set everything up. The way that it works with DFC, in the morning, everything gets set up, and then it's not until nighttime that they actually use everything. And so we're like, well, if it's just sitting there all day, can we get in there and do our thing? And there's like, well, yeah, that sounds okay, as long as you don't wreck the floor. And so we were lucky enough to do that. We were able to utilize their production crew, and that's why the streams look fantastic. They were in 1080p, great multiple camera work from seasoned professional cameramen who knew exactly what sort of reaction shots they wanted to do, and the editing was done by them as well, which has just been a huge relief from our side of things, not trying to balance producing an event at the same time as running the event. So there's so many elements that go in that, and the ability to say to the production team, we trust everything that you guys do. We love the fact that the lighting, the cameras, the sound, everything. That's your department, and that they know how to do that. They're professionals. They get that right every time. But the relief for us to be able to hand that responsibility to them, and then we get to just focus on the other elements, the athlete management, picking people up from the airport, all the little things that need to happen, the commentary. Dave Stockbridge does the announcing for the event. We've got shirts and all sorts of things we've got to organize. So if you're trying to do that and then you're trying to worry about the production at the same time, that's when it can get really, really difficult. And you see that with sometimes you see promotions on their first show or even their first couple of shows. They're trying to balance it all. And maybe it comes down to one or two people and they're trying to do absolutely everything. And then halfway through the event, the stream goes down and then, they don't know how to fix it and they're trying to get it back. And then, we've seen a lot of disasters that have taken place. We've been very lucky to be able to work with DFC and a really high-level production crew.
That, it's funny you mentioned it. So 2 parts to what I'm about to tell you. I actually am a member of the film crew that actually works at King of the Table in Atlantic City and East vs. West in Chicago. I was actually one of the cameramen. I was an operator. And I got to tell you, I have limited experience, some, but very limited experience. And to be thrown into it was, I could talk about an eye-opener as to what it was I was doing and learning on the job and developing my skills with being a part of a production company, creating my own productions. Because I've decided, that's what I want to do. I want to create not just a podcast, something similar to what you guys have. You and Ryan have actually been a major inspiring force to me. I've watched you guys very early on in my arm wrestling career. So that seeing that you guys recognize and understand that it takes a village. It legitimately takes a village to do this effectively the way we want to do it, the way we want to see it, how we have it envisioned. I can't do it on my own. No one can do it on their own. I don't care who you are. As good as you may be at spinning multiple plates at the same time, it's always better to have someone else there holding some of those sticks while you get the plate spinning. And I can appreciate that you are very frank about that and forthright that the production side is handled by a professional company that does and is well vetted and well versed in this. Because I sure shit ain't. You know what I mean? I'm not one who holds any delusions. When I don't know how to do something, I'll be the first to, hey, can someone give me guidance here? Because I don't know my ass from my elbow from here.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely hit the nail on the head with that one.
That's I loved hearing that, and that right there is how I think the sport of arm wrestling as a whole will become successful, will grow to another level, because people like you extending yourselves to entities that you guys are partnering with. It's just going. People are going to sit there and say, "Hey, they have a actual winning recipe on how to do this. Why are we reinventing the wheel?"
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree 100%. It's one of those things I see. Unfortunately, it seems to happen with organizations where somebody is very passionate about the sport. They want to put something together. They invite a lot of people. They do all the basic elements correctly, but then on the day it all sort of falls apart, or it just doesn't look all that great. Usually the reason being they didn't put the money towards having the professionals do the stuff that you need a professional to do, and they tried to do it themselves. And when you're trying to do something yourself, even if you have studied and tried to get it right and everything, if you're doing 100 other things at the same time and then the stream goes down or the cameras are out of focus or the sound is off and people are coming up to you going, hey, we need this, and it's like, hang on, and other people want this, and you're trying to get back and forth, and then it just all sort of falls apart. So I think that's one of the elements that organizations, if they are looking to put an event on, get professional people to take as much of the load as possible. And it will cost money. It's not free. It does cost to get people who are proficient and professional in their craft to do their thing. But it is such a relief for the promoter in terms of being able to focus on all the elements that they're good at, as opposed to trying to do absolutely everything.
I think that right there is the most humble statement that a event organizer can ever have, is recognizing that, So
Uh,
I love it. And that right there, I think anybody who's watching, please subscribe to these guys, follow these guys, watch them grow because they got a winning recipe. I'm I'm a firm believer of people who have an innovative way of doing things, but I'm also a firm believer of a tried and true method. If it works, let's keep it working and let's try to work together and see if we can help each other out. Because, like I said earlier, there's room for us all to grow. There's room for us all to grow simultaneously. The world's a pretty freaking big place, and it's only, it's going to get tighter and more knit, but it doesn't change the size of it, right? There's still going to be more room for us all to operate.
Oh, 100%. That's one of those things that we decided very early on with AWE. It's like, do we want to have contracts or restrictive contracts? Like, no, definitely not. We don't want anybody to miss out on any opportunity to be involved in the sport of arm wrestling. And we've been able to sort of facilitate some of the guys being able to compete in other organizations around the world. So with Richard Bornman, for example, who is from South Africa, but he's living in Queensland, Australia at the moment. He has competed on our shows a couple of times. He won our Grand Prix of tournament, the heavyweight tournament there. And from that, he was able to get an opportunity with Knuckles Up. And so next thing he knows, a couple of months later, he's up against Hollywood Don Underwood in New York or New Jersey, and which he won that match as well. And from there, now moved on to East versus West. And we couldn't be happier for Rickett. We think it's absolutely tremendous. And so we'd love to see the guys that we're able to promote and showcase to the world get these opportunities internationally.
It's I actually got to witness Ricard. He actually, a funny story with Ricard in Chicago. He saved my life.
Oh,
I was at the camera, which is elevated by I'd say about 3.5, 4 feet up in the air, and I forgot which match it was. It was very intense that I was very into, and I kept pushing my seat back a little bit, There's no borders or barriers on the ledge, and I ended up starting to fall backwards. I was going to fall off. Behind me, there was a freaking pike, a stand, and I put my hand out, and whose shoulder is it? It's Rika.
Well, if you're going to catch anyone's shoulder, that was the one to catch.
right. I felt like I was gripping onto a tree, man. That was an insane moment of my life. That I was like, I literally saw my entire life flash before my eyes, and I was like, you mind if I hug you? You saved my life, bro.
Oh, he's such a wonderful young man as well.
He was really nice, really playful. Are you okay? Give me a moment. We're going to let my dog out because she's wanting to go out. I'm a professional podcaster right now. Get out there. All right. So, couple of more questions for you. I don't got any questions from the chat as of yet, but I'm sure hopefully in the near future we will. But what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in the sport? You talked about, starting your own club, so you have some experience with this to, share some wealth and knowledge that you have to somebody who's just starting out. What would you recommend to them?
Yeah, it's one of those things where people are interested in arm wrestling. Getting their attention and getting them interested in the sport is your first step. But if they don't have any avenues from there, like there's no local club, if there's no meetup, if there's no tournaments, it's no event, then their interest is just going to fade and they're going to go find something else to do. So if there's no club in your area, start a club. Put the Facebook page together and say, hey, I'm going to be at this place at this time every week. You show up with a table and see if anyone turns up. And if they do, try to get them to have a great time so that they come back again the next time, and hopefully they bring a friend with them. And then the next time, maybe there's a couple more people and you can really start to kick things off from there. But I think just not relying on that everything has been already set in stone for you and it's a very easy path to follow, because it's not like that with these niche sports. You really need to take the initiative and if you are interested in arm wrestling and no one around you is, then try to find either in a greater distance clubs that you might be able to go to, or start your own, as I mentioned before. But that's one of those elements where putting the effort in and getting started is really the key.
It's amazing you said that, because I did find a local club to go to, and then it wasn't necessarily available consistently. And that irked me quite a bit. I wanted a certain availability, and then a work schedule made it so that I couldn't really get to that, even when they did have it as irregular as it was. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I got some space here? Why don't I open up my own practices? And I've been consistently doing so now for 5 years. And it's one of the greatest things I've ever done, because I've had some of the greatest friends that I've ever had come over, be a part of my life, and greatest experiences altogether. And, so to Matt's point, I can appreciate that, because that's the pathway that I followed. And I always recommend it. Find a practice, get some experience in your belt, and then if you really need to, start your own club. That's how we grow it.
Absolutely.
There's room for us all.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right. So short-term goals that Matt has and short-term goals that AWE has, are they congruous? Are they synonymous? Are they kind of, different lanes but parallel? What do we got?
One of the great things about running your own organization is not being tied into that you have to follow this certain formula. So we put together AWE 1 and then AWE 2 that were basically like traditional event cards that you would see with other major organizations around the world. But after the second AWE, a lot of the athletes that we wanted to use from the United States or from Europe were then signed to exclusive contracts, and we were not able to do that. And so we had to pivot and come up with some different ideas. It's like, all right, well, we still want to promote arm wrestling. We still want the AWE to continue. We can't utilize the top guys in the sport. So what are we going to do? Let's go underground, and we'll showcase our local talent. And we put together the Grand Prix tournament, which was 8 of the best heavyweights in Australia. We flew them all up to Brisbane in Queensland, and we held a tournament. And the idea of that, the look and feel that we were going for, was that we wanted you to feel like you were standing in the room watching, that this could have been happening in a house a few down the road from you. And I think we did that effectively, and it really came across well. Richard Borman was the winner of that first event. So we did repeat that with another Grand Prix event, a Grand Prix 2. And since then, we've actually done a third one as well. The second one was with heavyweights again, and Richard Borman beat everybody again, unsurprisingly. And the third Grand Prix event that we put together was for 80 kilos and below. And so 85 kilos and below, which I don't know what that is in pounds, but it's something, 100 and something. But so we were able to put that together. We had international athletes come over and compete on that card. And it was a double elimination 8-man tournament with the top guys that we could get in that region of the world under 85 kilos. So we're able to utilize
190 pounds, I think.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So we were able to get the same production crew that we used for DFC to film the Grand Prix 3 event. The number 1 and 2 we did ourselves, which is why we were looking for that sort of style, that feel like that you were there in person. So we didn't want to have like the real high-end, panning shots and all the rest of it, because it's like, well, that's not the look we're going for. We want it to feel very much like you're standing there and that guy's right in front of you and this match is taking place right now. So since then, we had the Grand Prix 3, but we've since then, we've had the Champion of Champions night, which was, again, a promotion with DFC, the Diamondback Fighting Championship, and we managed to put together 2 fantastic matches, which was Brett Coots versus Lachlan Adair and Brett Coots versus Mato Warengi Hetamoris from New Zealand. And all of these guys, very muscular, very strong, very powerful men that get attention, when they walk into a room. And Mato Warengi is almost 400 pounds. He's an absolute giant of a man.
Monster human.
Absolutely. And so when he walked out to the octagon, you'd hear the audience just going, oh. I can't believe the size of this insane athlete. And the matches that we put up together worked out really well, and we had a really good feedback from the audience. They were very invested in the match, and they had picked their favorite, which was Brett Coots, who ended up winning both matches. But I think that they did that because Lachlan false started in the first round, and they all booed that. But then since then, it was like they cheered for Brett because he wasn't the guy that false started. And they also cheered when the strap was applied. I don't know why, but I think maybe they had only seen the Over the Top movie and just remembered that bit from there.
I do notice that people don't quite fully understand why there's a strap involved. When we slip, we got to have our hands together, because otherwise it's just going to be consistently slipping and you're not going to see anyone arm wrestling. And, at that point it's boring. So we want to still see a show going on. So we strap together for that purpose, to maintain the sport, the flow of the sport to go on. And then it's a whole different dynamic of arm wrestling, which I love, because there are people who are strap masters out there who know and love to apply the strap. So sometimes their goal is to get there. I happen to be one of those people. I like pulling. I enjoy pulling in the strap.
Yeah.
We just got Drew24 in the chat. What's up, man? Thank you for tuning in.
Drew, he's in every single arm wrestling stream that's ever out there.
Absolutely.
We've got Drew number 24. There are 23 other clones of the Drew out there.
I swear he is close. I've seen him in multiple chats simultaneously. I'm like, how are you doing this? Do you have like a Matrix style setup where you have like 5 screens in front of you?
That's what I said. I'm like, you must have like 12 monitors and you've got streams on all of them at once.
Big Brother's watching. You got to watch out because Big Brother's watching. So
what we were saying before about these straps, I just had this thought. With Prapanja, I think they're in day 9 at this point. So we've seen a whole bunch of different matches. One major difference in the way that the Indians arm wrestle versus everywhere else that I've seen is they start outside of straps, but when they hit and they slip to the fingers, they grab those fingers and continue the match. Like they are against slipping for some reason. It is like they do not want to slip no matter what. And so many of the matches have taken place where somebody has grabbed, like they've gotten the index finger of somebody else and pinned that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a huge difference to what I'm used to seeing. And usually, when 2 people come up to the table, they're both in a top roll stance. You're like, okay, well, this is going to slip. Top roll versus top roll is the opposite movement to each other. Hands always come apart. And even though that does happen for the first movement, they grip onto those fingers and then they fight with, like this horrible positioning with their fingers. But
the swan.
Yeah, pretty much. But I've seen so many matches where somebody looked like, I thought, oh, this is going to slip. And no, they don't. They grab a hold of the finger and they manage to pin it.
That's incredible. I have to talk about incredible finger strength. I guess that they train finger strength a lot more than we do, probably.
I'm not sure. They do put a whole bunch of chalk on their hands before they start. And maybe they've been instructed by the event organizer say, hey, like, we don't want you to slip. If you can avoid it, just hold on. But I mean, it's always up to the puller how they actually go. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. So we talked a little bit about the short-term goals. What about the long-term goals? 5, 10, 20 years from now, where do you see AWE? Where do you see you? Where do you see the sport of arm wrestling?
Well, I didn't think that this would occur, like to this level. So it's all been absolutely a pleasure for me, a privilege. As I said, I'm a fan of the sport first and foremost, and being able to see it, being able to talk about it with other people, do videos and podcasts, and put my own matches together in my own organization with amazing people that have been incredibly supportive. So we're going to continue putting events together with AWE and showcasing the best athletes that we can from the Southern Hemisphere, lining up against each other, and with high production values and a rule set that really focuses on making it entertaining for an audience to watch. And that's one of the elements that we really wanted to change when it was probably the first year that I was watching arm wrestling. One of the guys put a link up for the World Championships, and I think it was the WAF World Championships. And I was like, oh, great, World Championships, this should be great. And so I clicked in, and I think I watched for about 15 minutes, and there wasn't a single pin. Every match ended in fouls. And I was like, this is really boring. And there was no commentary. It was one single static shot. And I was like, this is the World Championships? Like, this isn't, I think they could have done this a lot better. And from there, I was like, oh, okay, these are the elements that I think could be done better. Dave and I started a podcast, which was called the Daily Combat Podcast. And we mostly talked with MMA athletes. A lot of the DFC guys came on the show, and we had athletes from all sorts of different disciplines, but we kept turning the conversation to arm wrestling. So eventually we moved away from that and started our own arm wrestling dedicated show. And in that, a lot of the discussions that we had back and forth were about events that we'd watch, what they did well, what they could have done better, what we liked and what we didn't. And a lot of the elements we didn't like was the pacing, the speed of the event. And if you're having two athletes on stage getting set up for 10 minutes and then they slip only to be set up again, the audience is gone by that point.
You've lost interest.
That's right. And
today's population, they have the attention span of an ADD kid watching a flock of butterflies. It's I understand that, and that's actually. So you were mentioning, you mentioned WAF, you mentioned a couple other things that it made me think of Mac. Mac. We were talking before we came on the show about the developments they had, the rule sets that they got. And it really does cater to the viewership. And I think that Mac needs to be in Australia. If Ian, you're watching, JJ, you're watching, Matthias, you're watching, I think we need to get a Mac table down to Australia and then get one into Matt's hands to see how we can actually complement his endeavors in this. Because I think that would be an amazing partnership. I think with your energy and what you want to do with the sport, all the things that are important to you are important to Mac. From my personal experience and from what you're saying, and I think that it's just a no-brainer to connect you guys. Ian
and Matthias, they're great guys, and I've had them on my podcast before. I've been on their podcast before, and I absolutely love that they're doing something different, that they're trying something different. They've come up with a new design of a table, and it's like, let's see how this goes, because I don't think arm wrestling has hit the final form yet. I don't think I think there still needs to be some sort of adjustment, some sort of change where it's like, okay, this is the thing that really hits with audiences and everyone completely understands it and they're entertained and they want to go and watch these events. because currently, if you're looking at some, like say East versus West or some of the top organizations, the cards do drag on, and there's a lot of moments where you're just like, oh, come on. So looking to eliminate those as much as possible. So I love the fact that Mac is trying different things. They've got the different design of the table and different rules. So we had the similar thing with AWE. We hate when matches get stopped for fouls and they restart, especially if somebody is about to be pinned and they just lift their elbow off. And they're like, oh, we'll just restart it. It's like, you're about to lose. That's not fair.
Yeah.
And so, we do running fouls. And we're able to put a bunch of rules together, which made the event very entertaining, but it was also fair for the athletes.
So I do want to say, I do like running fouls. However, the one thing I do like is with Mac, you get 3 fouls, and they are stop fouls, but it's really challenging to get a foul.
Mm-hmm.
It's very challenging to get a foul. Like, you have to be blatant to get a foul. And like, because of the dip that the Mac tables have, you have to literally lift it several inches. And if you're in a losing position, guess what? You've taken that loss. If you're, it's not something that is easily contested either, because it's like obvious. Like, hey, no, like, we already allow you to lift your elbow to a certain degree. If you can't be strong enough, you're done. You're lost. This guy's your opponent's clearly stronger than you. I mean, in all my super matches, I have not won one yet on the Mac table, but in the tournament setting, I've actually come undefeated every time I've competed, with the exception of the class above me. And it's interesting because I noticed that my style evolves as I compete more on it, and my style evolves with the table. It does take some time to get adjusted to, and once I get adjusted, it's actually pretty smooth sailing. It's like, oh, this is what I need to do. It's not a regular table, and I always joke with Ian. I'm like, listen, Ian, WAF tables, IFA tables, all the tables that are currently in the other bigger entities, they are bar tables that we put pads on to arm wrestle on. They have multi-purposes. I can use it as my laptop, standing desk if I needed to. But a Mac table is a table that is an arm wrestling specific table. You can't do anything else on it. Besides with the ramp, you could probably do those fingerboard things, but that's about it. It is a table designed for arm wrestling. Well, in a little bit in the show, we'll talk a little bit about the Mac event that is coming up, and I definitely want to shout them out big time. But do you have any immediate events that are coming down the pipeline for you?
Well, we're looking at putting our next event together. We haven't got everything set in stone at this point in time. One of the things that we have learnt not to do is to make an announcement before everything is locked in. We had that with our AWE 1 where it was Chance Shaw versus Ryan Bowen, and then Chance got injured about a week before the event, and then it was Ryan versus Michael Todd, then it was Ryan versus John Brasing, and then it was Ryan versus, and then it was like, but we didn't have those locked in, and people were like, oh, great, we'll see this guy, and then obviously it fell through, and we were lucky enough to get Matt Connelly, Heather Morris to come over from New Zealand last minute to fill in that gap. But yeah, so we have things in the works, but as to what we can announce at this point in time, it is a little bit under wraps still.
Okay. So I guess the best way for you to stay tuned on what they got coming down the pipeline, go subscribe to their channel. Go check them out on Facebook. See what news they put up. They put up information regularly over there. It's definitely one of those nail biter moments where like, what are they going to come up with next type of deal? I love it. I love the energy. Before we get into later on this month, the Mac 4 event, and that card, which is freaking stacked. like nothing else. I do want to shout out that this upcoming weekend locally in Syracuse, New York, Battle of the Beach is going to be at Sylvan Beach, I believe, by James Reed, Central CNY Arms, New York Tri-State Arm Wrestling. They're going to be all participating in a tournament they've been running it for a few years now. It's a great time, great energy. If you win, you end up getting a picture with a harpoon standing next to a fake shark type of deal on the roof of the building. It's a pretty cool experience. Definitely, guys, check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, closer to home on Long Island, the same weekend, same day, I and my crew are going to be at a festival, a rock festival. For the first time ever, we are bringing arm wrestling to a carnival rock festival style event. It's going to be outdoors. There's going to be a dunk tank, carnival games, live music, food, vendors. So we're going to have like a minimum of, I think they said that their attendance is going to be 500 plus people in this, area. And we're issuing a challenge to their entire audience to come arm wrestle with us and teach them about the sport. And we happen to have a club not too far away from there. So, somebody, expressed a little more interest, we can actually just funnel them back our way. It's a very cool, exciting experience. I look forward to it. If you find yourself on Long Island, please feel free to hit us up. And it's, I think, $30 online, $40 a door, or something like that, in that range. So definitely come check it out. And then
it's one of those things they always try to encourage people to go along to tournaments, even if they're like, oh, there's no point in me competing, I'm just going to get absolutely destroyed. It's like, no, but you're going to meet a whole bunch of people that you can get on the after pool tables with, and you'll have a great time regardless as to how you do in the actual tournament.
Some tournaments, to be honest with you, it's the after pool is the main draw for me, because I know who's going to be there, and I'm going to be like, hey, I can learn from that dude. I'm definitely going to be there. I don't care how well or how poorly I do. I'm going there to learn in the after pool, because I know I got another event coming up that this guy can uniquely help me, prepare for and give me suggestions. So, like, get to a tournament, try it out. I can tell you my first 8 months of arm wrestling, I won diddly squat, but I learned so much. I learned so much. I gained so much from it, and it was, transformative to my entire arm wrestling career, and like everything's kind of snowballing since then.
Yeah, I think I'm 0-16 in tournaments.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, actually, no. I went in Ireland. They had a tournament there with the Arm Gods promotion, and it was an amateur tournament that they ran before their main card. And I didn't know they were actually going to do that. And then on the day, it was like, oh, you've got a tournament. They're like, yeah, why don't you enter? I'm like, okay, I guess so. They had, I guess pro and then novice. And I went in the novice, and they're like, you can't go into novice. You've been arm wrestling for like 5 years. I'm like, I have never won. I have never won a match, though. Like this. And I did manage to pick up, I think five wins, and came third in the class overall, which was a big surprise for me. But that's my only winning record with tournaments so far.
Well, that, you know what? Keep sticking at it, man. Keep going. I think that's admirable that you're still in it. I love that. I love that you keep your energy alive with it, and it doesn't seem like it's diminished anything. So keep at it. Real quick, we got some of the guys in the chat. Ryan Hurst from Barrie, Ontario. He trains with Iron Arms. Big shout out to that crew. We got Jesus Gonzalez of Beast Mode in New Jersey. What's up, brother? He also hosts, him and his crew host events regularly. Check them out. And Timothy Bushy, who's a guy from, I believe, Vermont, who's going up against one of my students in a super match at this upcoming New York State Championships. That is going to be happening the Labor Day weekend. The super matches, I believe, are on Saturday. The tournament itself is on Sunday. Feel free to check that out. Scan that QR code. It'll bring you to that event page. learn a little bit more about that. Steve Fernandez is setting up the super matches, and from my understanding, I don't have all the details, but I believe they do have a partnership with the World Series of Arm Wrestling, and they're going to be doing a qualifier for the San Diego Finals. So definitely go check that out. It's always a fun time. I've been to the New York State Championships before. It's at New York State Fairgrounds. It's a giant. Talk about exposure, man. Like, I want you to envision thousands of people walking around, right, at a giant fairgrounds where they have farm animals, rides, food, and you're right smack in the middle of the main food hall. And so you have crowds, thousands of people standing around you, like, over the top style look experience, like the movie Over the Top, like where you have thousands of people in the immediate vicinity watching you. Like, that's a really cool, fun experience. Gotta say, I happen to love it. I love it a lot. However, it lands on the same weekend usually. It's on or before my son's birthday. So some years I can make it, some years I can't. Depending on when it is. I just so happen to be out of town that weekend. And then one more event. Then we can talk a little bit about the card itself, because it's my personal favorite to announce that we have MAC 4 pay-per-view with Wayne Withers going up against Philip Larson, Arm Taranenko going against Alan Ford. These guys have been doing a great job promoting this event. I'm happy to help them in promotions. Scan that QR code. Please scan it. It will bring you right to the event page. And purchasing the pay-per-view, you get get a discount, I believe. I think it's only $14 for that kind of a show. You can't beat it. So, are you familiar with who's on this card?
Well, yeah. I mean, Artem Taranenko competed with us at AWE 2, and he had probably the worst luck with flights to get over here to Australia. It should have been 3 flights, and it ended up being 16. So, yeah,
that should be illegal.
We had decided to bring him in a couple of days early so that he could, get accustomed and not be as jet lagged and all the rest of it. But he ended up turning up like just a few hours before the event by the time he got there. And it was because the airlines kept canceling his flights. And it was so frustrating because it was like, he's in Florida. So his first flight was supposed to be Orlando to Dallas or something like that. Gets canceled. And they said, drive to Fort Lauderdale or something. And he drives out there, books another plane. 7 hours later, that gets cancelled. And it was just like, and that just repeatedly happened for the next, 72 hours. And we're on the phones to all different airlines on chat messages with them, trying to get support, trying to talk to Artem. And, he's like, where are you now? He managed to get to Sydney, and he only had one last leg to go, Sydney to Adelaide. Which is like an hour and a half or something like that, a really small flight. And we're like, okay, great. Well, he's in Sydney. Yep, I think we'll be okay. He should be fine. That flight gets cancelled. So, unbelievably, we finally he got there, and no complaints from Artem the whole time. What a fantastic guy he is. He turned up, and he had 2 matches. He had a match against Mario Tamakis on left, and he also went against Ryan Bowen on right. And then he flew out the next morning. So
I'm done. I need to get the hell out of here.
Absolutely. And Alan Ford, a tremendous arm wrestler. We've seen some incredible things that he's been doing in recent times. So that will be a fantastic match. And Wayne Withers as well, doing incredible things. He's really making a name for himself in that heavyweight division. I don't know the opponent, unfortunately, but maybe you can give us some info about him.
So Philip has been, rocking big time, rocking the arm wrestling community. He's fairly newer to the sport. I think he came from a strongman background, but he's got some serious power to him. He's explosive as all hell. So I think that, the throwing him at Wayne Rivers, and then also I think he's got a match against Matt Mask.
Oh,
And, I think I'm not sure. I think he may have a left and right, he's doing it twice in 1 month, mind you. So this man is a soldier of the sport. He's been part of MAC as well. He's been in a few MAC events. And I gotta say, this is going to be a banger of a match. I actually don't have a clear winner. I think it can go 3-2 either which way.
ooh, that's the best matches where you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, no, I really don't know who's going to win. Because I think their styles are fairly similar. I think actually, as tall and long-armed as Wayne is, I think they might have him on the height. I think he might.
Wow.
Somebody in the chat, please confirm that. Let me know if I'm wrong or blowing smoke, because I do think he might have him on the height. I don't know though. Let's see. And then
who else is on the card for that event?
Well, I'm going to bring that up right now. All right. So we got the free prelim card. So that was some of the main event cards for the pay-per-view. The prelim cards, I don't know too many of the people on here. I will say the first one is Matt Oliver, who just got announced. A big shout out to Matt of MAC, because he's got announced as the chief operating officer today. So that's a big congratulations to him. He's got his work cut out for him against John, who's a very tall guy. He actually just he was at the MAC 3, the tough event at MAC 3 in that team battle that they had, and he had a very convincing performance against a very strong Brandon Assessor. We got Jim Clement versus Matt Smith. It's a lightweight battle. I actually was going to be on that battle, but I couldn't make it. So that's going to be, I'm going to be tuning into that one. And let's see, anybody else in the prelims that Bryce Zachariah actually completely demolished me at the last Challenger Series. So I'm not sure too much about his opponent, Matt Hamlin, but yeah, Bryce is an absolute monster to look out for. Fairly new to the sport. You know the super freaks that show up last minute, like out of nowhere.
Yes.
Yeah, he's one. He wants to. He's making a name for himself. I think he's a national champion, left-handed as well, from Canada, and he's been in the sport roughly about 2, maybe 3 years, and he's just an absolute monster. He's the guy.
Coach Ray listed there as number 5 match.
Yep, Coach Ray's on this list. We got Coach Ray versus Alan Goyer.
Fantastic.
Alan is somebody who's a bit of an unknown to me. I've been just recently looking him up. Apparently, he's been around the sport for some time, and he's dusting off the old arm for Coach. And we're going to see what he can do against Alan. That's going to be an exciting match.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Coach Ray, again, one of those personalities in the sport that really promotes arm wrestling at the best level that he can. And, fantastic guy, fantastic analysis and commentary that he does there as well. And not only that, he is an elite level arm wrestler to boot.
Absolutely. I think that's I had the pleasure of meeting him at the MAC 3 event because I was on that card, and he just had really amazing energy. He took a pork chops pig mask and was running around with it. It was kind of funny. He's a very very entertaining individual, to say the least.
Man, pork chop, you couldn't pack more muscle on the single person than that man. I met him in Ireland over at the Arm Gods event, and the shirt he was wearing was probably supposed to fit, but once
it was a schmedium.
It was painted on. No, he is a monster of a man, and yeah, he's been doing really well in the arm wrestling circuits recently.
Oh, he's actually on the card too, going against Nathan Leland, which I don't know too much about Nathan. But anybody who has pork chop facing them across the table has their work cut out for them. I don't care who you are.
Oh yeah. Oh
I had mentioned
yes.
Brandon Alcester. Are you familiar with Brandon?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the top heavyweights, and has been. I guess he's sort of been right at that breakthrough level to the elite, but he hasn't quite won those key matchups that would push him through to those really big, huge, like the pointy end 1% guys. So I think he's right on the edge of that at all times.
I think he's definitely, like, I consider him one of the gatekeepers of the sport at that level. You know, he's right there, like you said. I think that he's, he's on his way to being there. It's just, we hope he's got to stop getting injured. That's ultimately what it is, I think. And just, but I think we will see a good banger of a match. I'm not too sure. Do you know who Eli is? LaPointe?
No, but if he's going against Brandon Assessor, he must be a good puller.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's an unorthodox puller that I actually know fairly well, Dave Morocco. I watched him arm wrestle, and I watched him arm wrestle Tim Bresnan, and he looked like he was proposing to Tim. Like the way he kind of brings his whole entire body down, but he's so tall. His shoulder still is above the table, and he's got this insane posting top roll that's super open, that like literally looks like he's proposing to somebody, and really entertaining to watch. Really strong guy. I think actually the MAC table is going to favor his style because he's got the case of floaty elbows, and usually gets a foul on himself. And I think that this expanded table pad is going to be in his favor.
Yeah, that's
okay. I don't know anything of his opponent, but
oh well, I mean, so is it? It's a king's move that he's dropping into, or
it's not really a king's move. It literally it's literally looks like this. I don't know if you see me, but it literally looks like straight up and down, and his shoulder, and he just kind of sits back, but he's on his knee. Like his knee is on the floor, and he's standing on one foot. It literally looks like he's down taking a knee, proposing, like he's about to propose because he's holding the opponent's hand too. I'll see if we can find the picture that I have of him because it's very, very entertaining.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I love about the sport is that people get to add their own characteristics to their style of arm wrestling. And you've got your three fundamentals, your top roll, hook, and press. But within that, people create their own style. And, you might see somebody who's just an expert in low hand top rolling or drag hooking or, the tricep press or the king's move or the move, the proposal move, I guess, as well. But, yeah, everyone brings their own unique abilities to the table.
It's true and he's been doing it for a while. Dave Morocco's been around. He hosts some of the biggest and best practices in the Northeast. He's out of Maryland, so definitely check him out. So Victor Beloved, I'm not sure who Victor Beloved is actually. I think I know who that is. I don't know who Clifton Erickson is either. But there's a name right below that we all know, Milo. Milo Lorette is on the main card.
Well,
so I'm looking forward to seeing him on the main card because we haven't seen him, I don't think, as of yet, which is exciting. It's big. What do you think? How do you think Milo's doing by way of progress?
He's got the best teacher in the world with his father, and it seems that the whole family is involved in the sport of arm wrestling. We've seen Auden doing very well with the matchups that he's had, and I would say that Milo is probably going to follow in those footsteps. It'd be interesting to see if he adopts the same sort of techniques and style that his father and that his brother would utilize as well. So I guess we'll wait and see if those questions get answered on this event.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I definitely see that's, I'm curious to see if he brings his own style or if he's going to be a carbon copy, if you may, or somewhere in between.
Yeah, it'll be one of the things to look out for at this MAC event.
Absolutely. And we got Mike Smith, who just recently won nationals in Canada, and BLM. BLM is a really intense puller. I love the energy. I got to see Mike Smith recently, and then I also got to see BLM. He just recently beat Brandon Alcesser. So he's doing fairly well for himself. He's got his work cut out, though, against Mike. Because I think because even though Brandon beat, BLM beat Brandon Alcesser, I think Brandon Alcesser beat Mike recently at the Challenger Series. So that's it's the ABCs of arm wrestling. A beats B, B beats C, but C beats A, but can't beat C type of deal. It's a weird triangle, love triangle that arm wrestling has.
Yes, the math doesn't add up quite. It's like logically it should follow this pattern, but it just doesn't.
It just doesn't. And the rest of the guys, I got to tell you, I'm not too familiar with them, with the exception of Daniel Evanson and Courtney Huckey, the women's match. Danielle is a insane. I think she does like strongman lifts out of Wisconsin. And I had the pleasure of meeting Courtney at the Challenger Series that I was just at. And they're both very intense pullers. They both bring a lot of energy to the table. I will say, I wish there were more female competitors. I think there is one more in the prelim card. I wish there was more than those two, because watching them really, I think there's nothing that fills the energy in the room. In my experience with it, nothing fills the energy more than the females do, by way of how intense they are at the table, the screaming they put into it, the technique. You can really see that they're really working technique. There's not just, a one dynamic power move they do. There's a lot more flow to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I've had this question a few times. How do we get more women involved in the sport of arm wrestling? My answer is always, the more that the sport grows and the bigger exposure it gets, the more that women will want to be part of it. We saw that with MMA, with the UFC. There was no women's division at all. And then once it got to a point where they had a huge following, big audiences, and they had some regional women's matches that were taking place, and they're like, okay, well, I think it's time. Let's put them in, and everything sort of kickstarted for them from there. So I think it's just a matter of time. As the sport grows, we'll see more women getting involved in it.
I think I'm hopeful for that to happen, because I think that's what needs to happen for the sport to grow. I think we need more women to get involved and become a part of this, as they are. Listen, this is supposed to be a family-friendly event, right? Mm-hmm. A sport where all the family can get involved in, and we see like the Lorettes, like you mentioned before, they have the entire family involved. I think that some of the husbands out there have wives that can beat the crap out of them. Well, let's do so at the table. Let's bring that energy to the table, right? I think that would be the best way for the growth of this sport to actually occur. To be honest with you, because can you imagine domestic disputes being settled at the table?
I'd watch it.
Right? I think we have a new airing idea. Let's work off screen with that.
that is absolutely key. And when you're promoting a match, getting the storyline. Why should I care as an audience member? Why should I watch your event? Why should I watch this match? What is it about these guys? You got to answer those questions. Well, he cheated on his girlfriend with that dude, and he is pissed, and they are going to settle it on the table. Well, I want to watch that. You know what I mean? You don't need to say anything else. I just want to see it.
And obviously, it's going to be a handicap match with some of them, because there are going to be some women that are, their significant other is that much, smaller or bigger than them. type of deal. So you're going to want to give them some level of handicap or whatever it may be, whether it's like a strap holding on to or using a second hand, but even then it's still going to be entertaining to see.
Absolutely. If there's storyline in it, people will watch. And that's one of the things that I think when we looked at what we like about the organizations that are doing things really well in the world, it's always like, well, the ones who sell the match, who create that storyline between the opponents, that really drives the audience and gets attention.
Without doubt. What Mac is doing with Matthias going to Artem Taranenko's home, going to Alan Ford's home, and interviewing them in their home, in their like where the lions roam type of deal, in their natural habitat. And I think that's crucial to this because then you get more realness. You have the ability to be real with these people and connect with them as individuals. And that's something that, I've been trying to capture, I've been trying to work with, and it's seeing that. I think I'm going to help however I can with that because, with my sport, with my crew doing what we're doing, they're engaging in the community at a level that I haven't seen yet, right? I've seen other people doing things at festivals and whatnot, but not say at a music festival. That's a little different, I feel like. Right? Have you ever been to a music festival where like you see some of these guys are freaking monstrous with their testosterone, rock and roll, ready to rip some dude's head off because the music's got them riled up, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've put on, we try to find those sort of places and put on arm wrestling demonstrations there. Like we've set up a bunch of tables and have people come up, the general public, and to arm wrestle with our club members. And we never let general public go against general public. It's always that they're getting shown how to arm wrestle correctly and they're having a lot of fun. But we recently ran one at the Beer and Barbecue Fest, which was, just a huge success because everyone had a few drinks and then they thought they were going to be, the world's best arm wrestler until they got on the table and found out that they couldn't move.
It's definitely a humbling sport at that too.
Yes, I think that's one of the elements that why the people involved in the sport are so wonderful and welcoming and humble is because you get beaten all the time. So it's very hard to think or to say, I'm really good. It's like, dude, I have seen you lose like 1,000 matches.
When I first started, I was fairly overweight. I was actually like about 260, 270. And I didn't start to go to like regular practices until I was about 240, 230. And there's this guy that was like 153 pounds, soaking wet. And he was literally manhandling me like a rag doll. And I was getting a little on the discouraged side. And I actually got to tell you, it was, I started getting healthier and I was thinking like 190 was going to be my weight, but I was still getting manhandled by this, 154 pound guy. And Paul Italia used to come to my practices with some regularity. And he actually said, you need to drop down to 176. I know it seems like a big drop from where you were, but if you do that, you're going to be a monster. And so I did. And I made it to 176. And I literally, my first tournament pulling 176 at amateurs, I won the both right and left-handed first place. And, again, hats off to Paul Italia for the suggestion, because had he not provided that, I wouldn't have been on the trajectory I'm on today. So,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, Paul Italia, you can't say too many good things about that man. He has given me massive opportunities with his podcast that he was running there for a while. He asked me to come on one show, and then from there he said, would you want to be a co-host on the show? I'm like, yes, that would be amazing. And so every week we were able to meet like a lot of the top guys from around the world that he was able to get on as guests. And what an amazing personality. I know he's moved on to his own business now with the junk removal stuff. The Forget About It is the name of the company. Forget about it. Yeah. What a legendary guy. And I'm hoping to catch up with him while I'm here in America.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Hey, you know what? Maybe he'll take you up to New York. Talk to him about it. You'd be welcome here. If anytime, I don't know how long you're in town for, but you'd be welcome. It would be an honor to have you at one of our practices. It would be really cool to have you here.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm here for 2 months, so plenty of time to get around, and I'm hoping to get to as many of the practices that I can. And yeah, depending on what state they're in or whatever, but logistically, it should be. I want to take the opportunity while I'm here.
Of course, man. So we've been at it for about an hour and a half. I do have one final question for you, man. This one's a little bit different. What's one thing that not many people, except those who are nearest and dearest to you, know about you?
Well, one of the things, because people say, why is your nickname Hollywood? And they don't know that I've worked as an actor for 20 plus years and been in 67 different films and TV commercials and all sorts of things. So I think that usually surprises people a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that you did that. That is a unique skill." But being able to utilize that when we do stuff like this, presenting to camera or talking about the event or even interviewing athletes or putting productions together and understanding how lighting and all the rest of it works, has been a huge benefit for me in being able to put together the AWE productions.
That's pretty cool, man. I do want to let you know that David Jansen's in here saying hello. Thinks he can crush me. I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty strong lately. Getting myself prepared for a few matches I got coming down the pipeline. September 20th, I'll be over at the King of the Tri-State. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got New York Tri-State Arm Wrestling. Steve Fernandez is running his second round of New York Tri-State, King of the Tri-State, and he's giving me a super match there, right-handed. Then later on in the year, December, I'm going to be going to Washington State with Arm Sports Entertainment, taking on their very own Steve West, right-handed. And then later next year, June, I got another super match with Jody Williams' production, Long Live Dono. The benefit that he has, I'm going to be facing Oregon's Peter Lalande. We saw him earlier on. So I'm looking forward to the next few months for me of training and getting myself out there. And, I have the very strong belief that what Matt's got going on is exactly what we all need to pay more attention to. I think that we all, as a community, can benefit from learning and, picking his brain. I appreciate you sharing your time with me. I don't want to keep you any longer. I enjoy Florida, man. It's beautiful down there. It's a little toasty, but definitely, don't go in any shark-infested waters. Stay clear of that. And enjoy the States. And I hope that we get to see you here, man. If you have any questions for me before I let you leave.
I'm just going to say thank you for inviting me on the show. I mean, it's always a pleasure to talk about arm wrestling, especially for people like yourself who are heavily involved in the sport. And you probably came into this the same way that I did, in terms of trying something new, absolutely loving it, and then wanting more people to get involved in it and putting those steps together to make those things happen. So thank you again for inviting me on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure. When are you going to be in Vegas? Somebody said.
The Drew. Yeah, I'd love to go to Vegas. Vegas is amazing. I'd love to be there. And if I do get there, Drew, I will make sure I send you a message.
There you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Matt. Man, I feel tiny compared to that. Oh, look at this one's weak. We don't care about my left. But damn, man, I wish I could have the aesthetics, man.
It's all for show. There's no go.
But I mean, Mike Aiello is one of the guys that I used to train with. He taught me a few things about lighting, and so you got some good lighting going on there.
I do. Yeah. This is all CGI. Yeah. I'm not even Australian.
I'm dying right now. That's awesome. I love it. All right, sir. Well, have a good night. Appreciate you for sharing your Monday night. Enjoy your stay in the States.
Thank you so much, mate, and enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Thank you.